Hey there, welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakeley. On this week's program, what's going on with the housing market? Many are holding off on buying or selling with an uncertain economy and the impacts of American tariffs. Been around for a while, working hard on behalf of children and youth who have experienced physical and sexual abuse. We hear from the new executive director of the Child and Youth Advocacy Center of Simcoe, Muskoka. We get the conversation started after this. This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakeley. Real estate market locally still recovering from the pandemic and the ensuing economic downturn. There have been signs of renewal, but many are still reluctant to buy or to sell. Local retailer Peggy Hill hoping to help with a free one-night seminar with a leading Canadian economist on what's driving home values, where interest rates are heading, and more. She's with Barrie 360's Ian McLennan.
Peggy, you are hosting a free exclusive forecast event with economist Ben Rabideau. Who is Ben? What are his credentials?
So Ben owns a company of his own. It's called Edge Analytics, and he's the keeper of a lot of data. And a lot of financial institutions count on him to forecast and what have you. So I first met him. It was the first few months of COVID, and everybody was walking around not knowing what to. Well, we weren't walking around. We were locked up in our homes, and I met him over Zoom. And, you know, nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew where this thing was going to go. And he certainly didn't either. But he had data, and he showed us a lot of data. And it just actually made me feel better. And I know that Simcoe County, all like sellers out there are so anxious right now. Buyers are so anxious. No one knows the direction this market will take. And it's easy for me to say, oh, it's a great time to buy a house, but I'm a realtor. That's what I do. So I thought, as a thank you to Simcoe County for always supporting us through all these years and through COVID, through everything, I wanted to bring this gentleman and at least put people's mind at ease. And I feel like this is a thank you from us. And I want people to come out, ask all the questions they have. And, you know, it's just going to be a great night. And it's going to be just very basic. So any questions you have about the housing market, you bring them with you. He will answer them. He will show you what his data looks like and what he uses to come up with these answers. So I just thought it would be a great time to do that.
He'll give the straight goods, but it doesn't mean it's always going to be a sunshiny reporter.
But I don't think we're looking for sunshine right now. I think we're looking for real, and we're looking for answers. And I think sometimes when people tell us sunshiny things, we don't believe them because we know the reality of our situation. Nothing ever goes straight down. Nothing ever stays straight bad. So I think you'll feel a lot better after at least having the data. I think people can make up their own minds. They don't need me to tell them what's going to happen. They don't need Ben to tell them. But if you had access to what he has access to, you can certainly make up your own mind about what's coming for us.
And you talked how you met Ben and the uncertainty with the pandemic in 2020.
It was scary.
But now we fast forward to 2025. The Bank of Canada is holding the line right now. Uncertainty about tariffs, and yes, it could come home to roost in terms of the economy, the housing market. What's different from 2020 to 2025?
There's a lot of difference. I mean, we can walk around, we can still work. There's a big difference there. We don't feel like we're caged animals at this point. But the housing market, unfortunately, probably feels worse to people than it did back then. So that is a problem, and that is what we wanted to at least give people a light. Or at least give them the information so they can make their own decisions. This is what it's all about.
You might not like the way I just describe it, but you're kind of like a doctor of real estate. When people want to sell, are they looking for a diagnosis? How do you do that?
We try to be real with people, and that is our number one thing. There's lots of times we won't get a listing because someone else has told them a different price, and they told them they could get more. Realtors can't tell you a price. We're at the whims of this market. We can give you the data and we can show you where you probably should be. But if you don't want to listen, at the end of the day, it's your home. The problem is when you don't listen and we go back a month later, it's actually worth less than the last time we were here. So do your homework. And this is what this is about. This is about you having the same tools that I have access to so you can make up your own mind. This isn't about, sales. There's no sales involved that evening. This is all about information collecting. And I think people are dying for the truth. And I think they're dying for information that's actually reliable.
And people are being bombarded with so many different lines, different suggestions. A lot of it seems guesswork right now because nobody can.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
that's the problem. When the Bank of Canada comes out last week and says, we're not forward looking, we're reacting day to day. So that doesn't leave you with a whole lot of confidence. But again, he's just going by the data he has. And I'm grateful that they're doing that. I'm grateful that they are looking at the real numbers and taking the data as it is.
Compress it for us what the Barrie housing market looks right now in terms of sales, what's on the market. I heard from somebody who was down in the GTA who said, Barrie looks good because at least it's cheaper. And then you talk to somebody who lives in Barrie and wants to move down the road and across the street going, oh, this housing market's so expensive.
It is. But, we do have a sweet spot in Barrie, and we've always had it in Simcoe County. And the only time that it kind of backfired on us is when we got ahead of ourselves back in February of 2022 and the prices got out of reach. I mean, our townhomes were trying to, reach $1 million. That's not going to happen. People are not going to pay $1 million for a townhome and then sit on the 400 for an hour and a half to get to work. That is not reality. So when prices got ahead of themselves, we had a correction, and in some places we're still correcting. So, I mean, as far as Barrie goes, Barrie's golden. We have our first-time home buyers, that's the breadth of every market. And they don't so much have that in Toronto because first-time home buyers are not buying little boxes in the sky. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a home, and they can buy one here. So as long as the numbers make sense and as these interest rates start to come down, it will be cheaper to buy than to rent. And that's when the real action happens. But the problem right now is that we can sell to first-time buyers, and we are. The problem is our second-time sellers are very nervous, and they may need to upgrade, but they're too scared. They're too scared. What if I lose my job? What if, right? So that's understandable. I feel for them. I would never be the one to say, no, absolutely, you should, just do it. So this is what we're waiting for. This is what has stalled out our market. And when we get more certainty from these tariffs and people's jobs, and unemployment is everything. Consumer confidence is everything. Once things start to get better, you will see that this market will unravel very quickly, and we will be right back to being busy. And Barrie's still busy. We have less months of inventory than Toronto has. So, nana boo-boo. Yeah,
and you've been in the market a long time, so you see these fluctuations all the time. In the 80s when the interest rates were sky high. If for someone who's looking to be a first home buyer and you tell them, well, you know what, things will get better, it might be hard to believe that.
I understand that.
How challenging is it out there for people, do you believe, that, who you encounter them who want to buy their first home?
So as the rates come down, this market is becoming more accessible to everybody. And, it's funny because it kind of bothers me a little bit because when I bought my first home in the 80s, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I had to sacrifice a lot of things to be a homeowner. And I think it's probably, for a first-time buyer, there's more programs, everything is about a first-time home buyer right now. There's more help for you. We didn't have that stuff. Nobody cared about us back in the 80s. No one. So I think if I were a first-time home buyer, I would access everything that the government is throwing at us, and that, you get better rates, you get to use your RSPs, you get to use your savings tax-free. There's a lot of programs out there for first-time buyers. I think the most important thing you can do for yourself is to educate yourself as to what is available for you.
Do your homework.
Yeah, absolutely.
So economist Ben Rabideau, June 18th, 6 to 9 p.m., Liberty North Event Center here in Barrie. And we've been talking about, balancing budgets and money and real estate. It's free, right?
It's free, 100%. From me to you, thank you very much. From 6 to 9, there will be refreshments served. Please come and say hello, ask your questions, or if you don't want to ask questions, just sit there and listen. It'll be a great night, I promise you that, and come and join us.
You can get in on this session at eventbrite.ca. Again, it's Wednesday, June 18th from 6 until 9 at Liberty North on Kaplan Avenue in South Barrie. The need is great, the resources few for the services provided by the Child and Youth Advocacy Center of Simcoe Muskoka, which offers a wide variety of programs designed to support and empower children, youth, and families who have experienced child physical and sexual abuse. We're joined by Executive Director Kate Waugh, who is relatively new to the organization.
I am. I've been with them for a year and a half.
And you go about your work very quietly. You kind of fly under the radar, but it's very, very important work. So it's important that we kind of talk to you again and let people know that you're actually there and what it is you're doing. So let's start at that point.
Absolutely.
What is it you're doing?
Well, what we do at the Child and Youth Advocacy Center is we believe that every child's voice should be heard, that they should be empowered, and that they should have a care team around them so that they can heal. Too many times there's abuse situations and exploitation and neglect, and they go unreported. And then those children carry that into adulthood, and they're left with that and that pain, and that causes more pain for our whole society. Hurt people hurt people. We're here to make sure that that whole cycle stops. At the Child and Youth Advocacy Center, we bring a care team together with trauma-informed care so that we wrap around all the support so that the child is able and the family is able to heal from the trauma that they've experienced. We're under the radar because we're initiated by police and child protection services. We're not a public-facing place. So they bring the kiddos into us. They do their investigation with us in a trauma-informed center with, we've got dogs and advocates, and somebody's assigned just to make sure that that family can navigate the system rather than going to a police station to do your disclosure.
You mentioned dogs, and they're a very, very important part of this, aren't they?
Yes. They're everybody's favorite part. So we work with Cope service dogs. They're absolutely fantastic. They're just the most beautiful, highly trained dogs you can imagine. It's not bad to work with them every day. They do deep pressure, they can give hugs, but they're basically there to sit with that kiddo and have that comfort during the interview process. Parents aren't generally allowed in, so often it could be a 6-year-old sitting in there with a non-uniformed police officer who's very specially trained to work with children, but it does help when you've got a little doggo on your lap.
And I'm guessing you're probably really, really busy.
We are unfortunately very, very busy. So our area is actually 2 times the national average for human trafficking in all of Canada. So 67% of all human trafficking cases happen in Ontario, and a lot right here in the 400 corridor. So we're very busy with that. Then there's also the terrible stats, like 1 in 5 girls are sexually abused before the age of 18. And again, almost 60% go unreported. And that number is what's probably even higher than that. So we're very busy, and we're out there really trying to make sure that people know we exist. You have help, you have support, you have places where you can heal, and we connect you to everything that you need following that investigation so that you can somehow be able to put this trauma behind you and move on.
You mentioned a couple of areas of specialty. What else? What other kinds of situations are you dealing with?
We deal with neglect. We have a counseling program. The wait lists are quite long to get into mental health supports. So we have a counseling program that we've developed to just bridge that gap. It's actually called Bridging Supports to Wellness. And we take in anyone. So we'll work with the caregivers. We'll work with the witnesses. Intimate partner violence, we know, is becoming an even huger issue, and there's a lot of attention put on it right now. And we are seeing more and more the effects that children have after witnessing intimate partner violence. So we'll see those kiddos and we'll help them with that. We also do a girls group. So for girls aged 12 to 18, and anybody can register. And we teach all these kiddos about healthy relationships, consent, how to be safe online, how to spot human traffickers. We want to help stop this cycle of abuse and stop what's happening.
And to be clear, it's not just girls. You have some young guys in there too.
We have currently, our group is for girls, but we're working right now on researching and developing a prevention education program for boys. It's clearly lacking, and there's not a lot of supports out there. And yes, obviously boys do get abused as well, and we need to be there for them.
Walk us through what happens. The police come with somebody who is looking or in need of some help. What happens when they walk through the door?
So they're met at the door with the dog and an advocate. The advocate is there to say to them, listen, I'm not police. I'm not Child Protection Services. I'm here to support you and your family. Then snacks, coffee, toys, coloring, whatever it might be to help them be comfortable. The police will then bring the child or the caregiver or whoever else is there, and they do the interviews. We have a state-of-the-art forensic recording equipment and a big living room that's quite comfortable. And they do their investigation. And then following the investigation, we then sit with the families and follow up with them to be able to connect them to whatever community supports they need. And that might be counseling through us, that might be a youth group, that might be food insecurity. So we have connections with all of our community partners in Simcoe Muskoka. We really want to be the hub of that. So it's a very complicated, very difficult system to navigate. So we're there to connect all those pieces for the families and support them as long as they want our care.
You mentioned the police involvement, so a lot of the cases are coming through, well, they're all coming through police.
Well,
through some of their investigations, but our parents, our family members, our friends reaching out to police and say, hey, look, I think there's a problem there.
Right. Often you report to Child Protection Services, so that's the best way to do it is you give a call to Family Connections, and there's an intake person, and they take the report, and then they connect them to a police officer. It's a joint protocol here in Simcoe Muskoka, so the police and Child Protection Services do the investigations together.
How many, shall I say, clients do you have right now? Do you have a handle on a number?
We support at least 400 families a year. So yes, and that is just scraping the surface. And there's a lot more out there. And that's part of the reason we really are trying to be less quiet and less behind the scenes so that people know that there is support. There's a better way to do this, and we're here for that.
Is there an age range? What is that?
We go up to age 24.
Okay.
We have just also, we're doing the court support as well now, so helping prepare testimony and supporting kiddos during their court cases, and that goes up to age 18. But the biggest thing is that we have no core funding, and we're not mandated. So police and child protection choose to work with us, and Simcoe Muskoka is a massive region, right? So we have 16 different police detachments that we work with. So we also are always making sure that they know we're here, and we're there to make their jobs easier because we'll take care of those families so they can go on catching the bad guys.
Let's talk about the funding situation, because you need funding to make this happen. How can people help if they want to? Or do you have other organizations that are chipping in for you?
Well, yes, our services are completely free because healing from trauma should not come with a price tag. So we have funding, we get grants, and we have some donors. So I basically try to write a grant a week and get us as much funding as we can. Across the province and across the nation, the child and youth advocacy centers are really advocating for some core funding because we are an essential service. And in other countries, they are funded. Until that point, though, we are always seeking the support of anyone in the community who sees that the children are our future and that they need to be helped.
Are there openings for volunteers at this point, or are you looking for specialized people?
Right now, we're looking for specialized people. We are hoping to be able to develop a good volunteer base down the road. We'd like to be doing the beautiful fundraising events that other people do. The issue is there's a lot of money you have to put up front for that fundraising. And in those cases, that's where we really need to get some help. Donations of spaces, so we can do trivia nights. Anything like that really helps us out so that we can, A, get the message out there, and then also be able to support the families that we're looking after.
And you have 2 offices right now?
We have 2, we call them our brick and mortar buildings. So we have one in Barrie and one in Aurelia. But again, because the region is so vast, we had a car donated to us, and we pack up our mobile recording equipment, our dog, our snacks, and we'll go to all kinds of places wherever the police want to meet us so that travel isn't a barrier for families.
Where can people go to find out more about you? We've touched the surface here, but there's so much more that people can learn.
So at CYAC-SimcoeMuskoka.ca is where you can find all of our information. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and donate if you feel like this is something that you would like to be able to support.
Kate, thanks for dropping by.
Thank you.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian for his input, to Matt Ladder for his technical touch, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360 and on our website, Barrie360.com. There's also our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakeley. Hope you'll join us again next week.